Tonight on Retrowatch, we're jumping back, way back to 1982, and we're going to enter in the world of the machine and one fight for freedom across the grid. This is where the legend begins. Tron, plug in, and let's enter the game.
All right, dude. So I was thinking we might have to start a new playlist and run it adjacent to Retrowatch and call it Crap Winterwolf Hasn't Watched the Things He Made Him Watch. And the first entry would be Tron, which we're going to talk about right now. So we can officially, that's me virtually taking Tron off the list. I finally watched it, and now we can finally talk about it. And we can talk about how that connects to Tron Ares. I still haven't seen Legacy, though, before you ask. I didn't have time. I didn't work that in there. But dude, why did you make me watch Tron? Why was this necessary for us?
Because it's a moral obligation.
Yeah.
You have to watch Tron. It's like you have to watch Real Genius. You have to watch Star Wars. You have to have this movie knowledge so you can understand movie references. But also, it gives you a better understanding and appreciation for movies like Tron Ares.
Dude, true. Now, dude, I've always maintained, right, that I get Tron. I just hadn't seen it. Like, I get references to it because it's been so ingrained in like public consciousness for 4 decades that if you're around nerd stuff and sci-fi, everything cycles from something else. But lots of stuff that we grew up with, you know, in the 90s, obviously is derived from Tron. I mean, the Matrix can't be the Matrix without Tron. Yep. Blade Runner can't be Blade Runner without Tron. A lot of that stuff can't be them without Tron. You know, the world within the digital world outside the reach of humans.
413. Another great movie that a lot of people don't know.
Oh, yeah.
It was the Matrix before the Matrix.
It was the Matrix. There's lots of things with the Matrix before the Matrix. The Matrix just did bullet time before everybody else did bullet time.
Yeah, the directors invented that whole quick picture scene. Yeah,
I made the sound effect. We're gonna put that on Spotify. But anyway, so I watched Tron, and I honestly don't know what I think. It's shocking. I get why it gets lauded as being cutting edge for its VFX. That's undeniable. It has a wildly unique aesthetic that is instantly recognizable as Tron. Even if you've never seen 10 seconds of the movie, if I put that in front of you, you'd be like, that looks like something that would be called Tron. Like that sounds about right. And it feels so quintessentially 80s to me that I enjoyed watching it. There's a different way movies were made back then. I don't mean the tech. I don't mean what we see on screen. How story works. We talk about that all the time. How the flow of the narrative and the through lines work. You know, so even when things get goofy, and dude, it gets goofy. There's a lot of goofy stuff that happens in it, but it's appropriate to the movie and to the vibe that it's going for. Like, it's not going for like over the top, super cynical 90s, 2000s corporate greed takeover, blah, blah, blah. Which is ironic because that's the core concept to Flynn's gripe with Dillinger.
Yep.
Corporate, you know, he stole his shit. But it doesn't come through and to take away from the fun factor. You know what I mean? So I'm glad I watched it, but a lot of the stuff that they do, I'm watching it progress and I'm like, okay, I get it, but somebody bowl me over with something that isn't the visuals. And I think this is one of those cases where they overreached with the story, but they definitely nailed the aesthetic, the sound, the look, and the world building. Even though it is, and I say world building, it's thin. There's the human world and then there's the digital world. But the beings in the digital world feel like real people. Like they're feel like personalities. They're programs, but in stark juxtaposition to how we portray programs now. And I'm thinking directly of Tron Ares. They were programs, but they were like people that wanted to do their jobs and not be removed from their jobs and to have a purpose. And they were kind of funny and a little sardonic, and there was some sarcasm and some fear and some happiness when things worked out, and a yearning to return a oppressed system back to a free system. So they weren't just cold cat. They weren't all T-800s. They weren't all Tron Ares.
Yeah, they take on like their persona,
the personality,
of their program,
of their user.
Yeah.
Right.
Do you believe in users?
Dude, I can't tell them that I'm a user, but I still have power here. They just don't know it. You're obviously a fan. I'll give you give you a few minutes to gush, dude. You gush. I'm gonna zip it and drink some water.
So, my wife, she hadn't seen Tron either, and since she saw Tron Ares, we went back and watched it. I think we saw Tron Ares on Saturday, and then we went Sunday and we watched Tron right afterwards. So, and then she said she drew a greater appreciation for Tron Ares after watching Tron, and some of the moments where she saw me go, "Oh, they did that." But the reason why Tron is a good movie is, yes, it is 80s fantastic. But the purpose of it, it shows a lot of the stuff that people are fighting for today, like overreach and stealing other people's credit to move yourself up, which, I mean, that's the whole Dillinger story, is he stole Flynn's programs and then became like senior vice president?
Senior vice president, senior executive.
Yeah. And then he had a program that he just kept building, which became the master controller. And then he had his stupid game, which no one bought, was like the enforcer of the gaming world, where they bring these other programs. And what it was to feed the MCP to make it more powerful. Right. So when they're selling their product, the MCP can put out something to get in more clients. Right. That was the whole purpose of it. I think watching Jeff Bridges this young and hearing how his voice is so much different, it's like he doesn't even sound like Jeff Bridges. Yeah, just he doesn't sound like that anymore. He's done too many of those cowboy movies, and his voice is all gravelly now. And I mean, he's older, and your voice still changes over the time of your life. But I mean, it's a simple story. Get into the digital world. They were trying to stop, and he was forced to play games. So that's what they do with the other programs until they're absorbed. And these games led to creation of games, which is like the fighting the Recognizer through the battle tank, the light cycle. They didn't show the discus. They showed Tron training with the discus, but they didn't show the game. That was one of my favorite games. Discus was my favorite game. So what we would do is me and my brother, we would save up all of our quarters from the week, and then on Sunday we would go to the arcade and feed those machines. And light cycle was a good one, but we always wanted to play discus. And it's kind of like, think of playing Pong, but it's people that are the paddles, and you both get a ball, and you can deflect it with your ball, but you can't do it if you don't have it, and you're trying to hit each other.
Yeah, so it's like dodgeball mixed with highlight, mixed with Pong, like you said.
And then they had the big arcade one where you get in and play the light cycles, and you can do the whole tilting back and forth. I mean, they still have those games now with like motorcycle racing and car racing and stuff. So
for sure,
it launched a video game line. It was a revolutionary movie that I could appreciate more of that now, where I appreciated the video games and the shiny lights when I was younger. But this is just a good movie. I mean, there's no unnecessary beats in it.
No, it like I was saying, it has a nice fun vibe to it. Which again, I feel like if we made Tron today, not Ares, like if we made Tron today, we'd layer it in like 9 extra levels of like cynicism and suck all the fun out of it. Like 10 minutes into this movie, Jeff Bridges is like playing one of his arcade games and like beating the game in front of like a crowd of 100 people. I know what that feels like. I've been there. I've seen that happen. I've been in those arcades as those kind of things played out, and then 10 minutes after that, he's hatching a scheme to link up with his old coworkers, his former girlfriend, to like break into the building. Actually, they badged in; they didn't really break in. Like he's gonna hack into their system using their access to find a file that's gonna like prove that Dillinger stole his work and gonna put him in the senior president office instead. And that's it. Like that's the film. He gets captured, and the moment he gets sucked into the grid, it's called the grid, right? That's like the other one, the grid. Is literally the door to Act 2 at like 25 minutes into the movie. It's like, boom, you may as well hang a sign on it. Like it's right there.
And which also was his first confrontation with MCP.
Right. And so I'm afraid that's not going to work out, Brian, or whatever his name is, Kevin. And I'm like, the whole thing is basically American gladiators on the grid with high-speed bike chases, trying to escape the grid, and then realizing they have to destroy MCP from the inside, which Jeff Bridges does, apparently sacrificing his digital self. And for a minute I was like, wait a minute, is he dead? And then he shows up and he gets out of a helicopter at the end, and then it goes right to credits. I'm like, oh, okay. It's an 80s ending. I remember like not The Abyss, what's that other, Leviathan ends just like that. The guy that plays RoboCop gets out of the water, gets up back on the oil drilling platform, punches Evelyn from He-Man in the face, and then it just goes to credits. Like, that's the movie. I'm like, okay, we're just done here. They don't stick around. They don't overstay their welcome.
No, it gets to the beat that you have the happy happies and everyone moves on.
Did the happy happies. I got the happy happies because I didn't realize exactly how hot Cindy Morgan was in 82. Good God. Dude, the eye candy was on full display at the end of that movie. Believe that. That added another level. It was interesting seeing people playing the double roles. You know, they're their human selves, and then obviously they just throw the funky Tron suits on. I never realized, having not seen the movie, that they were like padded suits with the spandex. That they look quilted, which I always thought was probably typical for the 80s. And we see the kind of suits they put these guys in now for like Ares. You know, they're probably CGI painted on in a lot of places, like Ryan Reynolds' Green Lantern suit. You know, and a couple of features like the advanced headwear and things like that, because some of it did look goofy, but it's like it's dated. You know, of course that doesn't hold up. But like, did you have fun watching it? Yeah.
Just don't make the super suit green or animated.
Or paint the face mask on his face. Just put the fucking face mask on his face, man. He'll be fine. But yeah, I this was enough Tron for me. It's not something. This is what I'll say about Tron. I think you had to grow up with it to really love it and put this on your now I gotta watch it again list. I don't know that I'd watch part one again because it does look dated and the story is kind of simple without any really massive emotional beats in it to kind of string you along. Now, I've heard different things about Tron Legacy, that maybe it does have more of that kind of emotional punch in a couple of places for a couple of characters. So I might want to take a look at that and then fill out the trilogy, but I don't know if I'd watch part one again.
And it also has
on that.
It has one of the same jokes, probably one of the funniest jokes in there. It's like when they're breaking in and the door starts opening, and I'm like, man, that is. I'm thinking like that's a sloping door. Like that's a really big door. They do the same joke.
See, I could see that. That was kind of funny, but that's what I mean. There's a level of goofiness there that works and doesn't. I mean, not that there's a lot of tension to undercut, but it never feels out of place or forced. Like when he's breaking into the office with the ex-girlfriend, he runs ahead of her and hides in a cubicle. And then when she walks by, he steps up and hovers over her shoulder to scare her, and she punches him. I'm like, that's funny. Like that's 80s funny. I like that.
Yeah, you don't see that type of fun anymore.
Right. Yeah, I don't know what else I would say about Tron other than that it has inspired me to at least want to look into Legacy, and then round out having seen Ares the other day. It'd be funny to see if Legacy is the superior of the three films, and I have a suspicion that I'll think that's the case when I get around to it, because there was obviously, I thought, some limitations to Ares. A lot of people seemed disappointed that it didn't pull up directly on the heels of Legacy and kind of told a after the fact story of part one, like it ignored Legacy like almost entirely.
It didn't technically. It's telling another branch of the story. Yeah. So think of having like 3 different books. One tells Flynn. Then the second book is the direct sequel telling the story of his son. Then you have a branch off to add a new character because, well, Flynn only had one kid. And then you move on, and then you have the combination movie. True.
Makes sense. I could see that. Oh, I'll be interested to see what direction Legacy goes in. But I think that's all I got to say about Tron. I think as a first time user, I got to give it extra points for the look and for what it pioneered in 82. 82.
You know
what I mean? There was a lot more going on in terms of graphical work, if I can coin a phrase, than I was expecting. I thought it was going to be very limited. I wasn't aware that most of the movie took place on the grid. I was surprised. I'll say that much. I thought there was going to be a lot more back and forth between human world, try to get him out, and not really like, hey, we met all your friends inside the game world. Now we're all here playing dual roles. You know, I didn't think that was the movie. So I mean, I got to give it points for some heavy lifting. I give it a 7.5, easy 7.5.
So, do you know why the bit only said yes and no?
They're binary, 1, 0, and 1. That's all it can do.
Yeah, 1 and 0. Yep.
There you go. I know a couple things. Get it? Couple. 0 and 1. I thought I saw a 2. That's a Bender joke for you Futurama fans. There are no 2s, Bender. There are no 2s. Anyway, you don't even get to have a number vote because you probably think it's a 12. There we go. All right, dude. You want to put a number on it? Let's make it official. Put a number on it. We can get out of here.
It's a 8-9, easy.
Yeah,
it's not in my 10 range. There's only a certain number of movies that hit the 10 range.
That's fair. That's fair. But I'm sure on a rewatch, you probably get a lot out of it still, even though it is dated and compared to what we can have on screen now. But there's an affinity for 80s movies that we have on this channel. So even things that have simple stories like this, like Short Circuit, like Flight of the Navigator, even all on our Retrowatch playlist. You guys can go check those out. They just don't make them like this anymore. I think things now, they would take this simple concept and, like I said, load it down with cynicism and just overbloat the runtime. And we don't need either of those things. So, all right, dude, why don't we play the music and we'll move on to the next project of the evening.
Dun, 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 dun.